everyone, welcome to Scared in the Name of Science, Season 2, Episode 8, Goblins in Pwca. We've crossed that halfway mark for the season, and I'm all starting to find that it's going a bit fast. Wouldn't you agree, Rox?
Yes and no. I'm greatly enjoying exploring fairies, but actually I'm really excited for Season 3.
Yeah, me too. I don't know if we've revealed what Season 3 is yet.
We haven't.
Okay, we're gonna keep our mouth shut on that one, but I'm pumped for it.
Yeah, I'm excited for it because I think it's going to be a lot more along the lines of the first season compared to this one where it was like all about one topic.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to... I'm so excited.
Yeah. But I'm also very, very excited to be discussing this. So to kick things off, I have a very cheerful little nursery rhyme for you.
Is it really? Cheery?
No.
Oh. Great.
Rawhead and Bloody Bones steals naughty children from their homes, takes them to his dirty den, and they are never seen again.
To his dirty den. I hate that.
Yeah. You can tell it's a British nursery rhyme by the idea of it being like, yeah, he steals children, but his house is gross, man.
Yeah, we do like
can't
it.
tolerate that.
Yeah. I will say, I've actually heard of Rawhead and Bloody Bones before.
Alright.
It's in a book I've read by one of my favourite authors called Laurel K. Hamilton. She's got a book called Bloody Bones. And not to... spoiler alert... The whole premise of it is that there's the fairy called Rawhead and Bloody Bones, and he is trapped under a hill by this guy's fairy ancestor who bleeds him regularly and drinks his blood to then become more powerful, even though that is like completely taboo to do across fairies.
Oh, right.
And then later on in the series, essentially, his like great-great-great-grandson is tempted by the power again and goes and starts drinking the blood from Rawhead and Bloody Bones. And in order to let him out of this mountain that he's trapped underneath, you have to like raise the dead that have been buried in specific spots to like take the posts out of a net almost kind of thing. I really recommend the book. It's really, really cool. And Bloody Bones was... yeah, no thanks.
That sounds really cool and also really gross.
Yeah, it was...
I hate the idea of like blood feeding.
Yeah, it was really interesting though, because like at the end of the book, Rawhead and Bloody Bones turned out to be like the most reasonable fairy out of all of them that they talked to.
Oh.
And he was just like, you freed me. Thanks, later. And just left.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay, well, back to the folklore of it.
Yeah.
So, Tommy Rawhead is an interesting figure. In British folklore, where he originated, he is a goblin-type creature.
Oh, a goblin, eh?
A goblin. Somerset's folklorist, Ruth Tongue, was quoted as describing him as this most unpleasant hobgoblin, lived in a dark cupboard, usually under the stairs. If you were heroic enough to peep through a crack, you would get a glimpse of a dreadful crouching creature with blood running down his face, seated, waiting on a pile of raw bones that had belonged to children who told lies or said bad words. If you peeped through the keyhole at him, he got you anyway.
I hate that. That is a terrifying image.
Yeah, it really, really is.
It'd be a really gnarly tattoo, though.
It would be. So, Tommy Rawhead is one of those, like, classic creatures that are used to frighten children into compliance, as every culture is really fond of that classic, like, boogeyman type thing. If you tell bad words, you're going to be eaten.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really sound proportionate, but there we are.
Yeah.
However, Tommy Rawhead made it across the pond.
Did he now?
He did. In the American version, specifically Missouri, Rawhead and Bloody Bones is a razorback boar with red markings.
Ooh, okay.
In this tale, the boar is the companion of an old woman who lives in the woods. The boar is one day killed by a hunter and eaten. Upon learning of this, the old woman is enraged and conjures the spirit of the animal. However, potentially due to burying the boar in a human graveyard, a humanoid boar creature is created with a human body and a boar head, bathed in blood. This creature then hunts the hunter and eats him. So, both stories horrifying.
Yeah.
And also very, very different. What are your thoughts?
I don't know which one would make a more intense tattoo, I'm not gonna lie. I love the image of this boar, though. I think that sounds really, really cool. But the thing I do think is really interesting is how many stories that maybe originated over here and then travel to America end up associated with animism.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know about animism?
Vaguely.
Okay, so animism is the worship of like spirits, and essentially that everything everywhere has a spirit or a soul. So this cup of tea we've got in front of us, it's got a spirit, it's got a soul, and can be communicated with and brought back. It's more than a cup of tea. It's like, oh, that rock over there, that's got a soul. You're looking at your cup of tea really, like, upset now.
No, I'm just trying to, like... This is so off topic. Do the tea leaves have the soul? The milk have the soul? The water have the soul? The glass have the soul? Or do they all individually have a soul and is then intertwined to become A, one big soul, or B, a collective of souls with different experiences and vibes?
I think the second thing. All individual souls, and they then become a collection of souls that have individual experiences. I'm sorry, I'm laughing so hard because this cup of tea has individual experiences of being drunk by you.
That's kind of horrifying. I really don't like that.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway...
My socks have souls, and then I just walk...
Well,
they
not
do
the
have
socks,
souls.
But like the cotton that made...
Souls.
Yeah, so I really like this idea, though, that it gets all intertwined with animism and then becomes even more horrifying.
Yeah,
Cool.
I do actually think that the image of a razorback boar is, like, more terrifying than a goblin who eats children. Because I'm an adult now, I can just stomp that, you know,
Well, how
that
big,
little sucker.
How big was Rawhead supposed to be? Was he, like, normal-sized, or was he, like, Tylwyth Teg-sized, or is he, like...
I don't know, he lives under the stairs, he's very kickable.
Right, but Harry Potter lives under the stairs.
Yeah, an 11-year-old boy is also kickable, what's your point? We're talking size rocks.
Right, we're totally off topic, let's go back.
Right. Goblins are a type of fairy, typically mischievous and sometimes malicious. Goblins come in many different shapes, sizes and forms. Some are helpful and some aren't. Goblins are a staple in European and British folklore. Some notable goblin types to mention in order to emphasise this kind of like duality of natures of a goblin would be the red caps in the legends dye their hats red in the human blood.
Oh.
And then
okay.
Conversely, there is the hobgoblin, who is said to be more of a friendly trickster.
Okay.
And is also the mascot of a ale brand.
Oh yeah, of course it is.
Yeah. So, a website that I stumbled across called realgoblin.com.
Oh, what a name.
With an article called A Guide to Goblins by Quentin had a very interesting opening statement.
Okay.
We've all seen a goblin or two in our day.
Have we?
Whether they're rooting through your trash for shiny aluminium cans or stealing babies from the hospital nursery, goblins live among us. If you're anything like me, you've probably even hit a couple of those little rascals whilst driving without your glasses on.
Okay, sure, Quentin.
I did have to admit, it cracked me up a lot. But it did actually get me wondering, why are fairy encounters so much more prevalent than goblin encounters
It's a really good question.
Why, are there any goblin sightings? Now, just to make very, very clear, the author definitely doesn't believe in goblins at all.
Okay.
They're clearly just skylarking. However, the article did switch me on to a particular goblin sighting. The Goblins of Hopkinsville. Rox, you're gonna love this account.
I love this story. I've watched it before on Mystery Files.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it was goblins, but you're giving me more evidence to my theory, though.
So on August 21st, 1955, 5 adults and 7 children attended the Hopkinsville, Kentucky police station with a story about witnessing a flying saucer land near their farmhouse. Little men surrounded the house and tried to gain entry. The men fought them off before going to the police. The description is that they were short, monkey-like, with long arms, webbed hands with talons, and large, bright, offset eyes and pointed ears.
That doesn't... What? That doesn't sound like anything I've ever heard of before. Like, I know I've read this account before, but that's weird.
Yeah. Before you get too excited by the appearance of a UFO and little men, despite the shootout there was no traces at all of aliens. There was no blood, no footprints, nothing. So the most famous goblin sighting describes an alien encounter, essentially.
So fairies are aliens. Look, I'm right.
No. After a lot of internet trawling and fruitless searches and going to like number 25 or whatever in a Google search, I can provide the following accounts courtesy of Paranormal Database, and I should have just gone straight there and not actually bothered with anything else because there was literally very little.
Oh dear.
The first encounter, simply called Goblins, and there you have it, folks. Goblins in Advent, Cornwall. No details, no date, no time, no description.
Okie dokie.
Just goblins.
Goblin.
Now let's broaden our nets a little bit. This next one is Pwca in Leicestershire, 1990.
Okay.
So it actually has a year, which is something.
And a place.
And a place. A witness woke in the middle of the night, encountered what she believed to be a fairy entity known as a Pwca, sleeping over the pelmet of a landing window. The creature resembled a little piglet, but with a longer, pointier nose and no visible tail. The part of the house where the sighting happened is on the path of a ley line.
Sorry, so it's a flying pig?
Well, I don't know, hang on a minute. There was no like, mentioning of wings.
I guess it was that she saw a pig sleeping on a windowsill.
But it didn't have a tail and it had a longer, pointier nose.
Yeah, when pigs fly, I'll believe that then.
Wow, Rock's dismissing an account. I don't think that's ever happened on the podcast.
Look, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm not going to lie to you. It was one of the scariest experiences I've ever had in my life. I woke up once in the middle of the night, and I thought that there were lizards crawling all over my bedroom wall and all over my teddy bear. And I was absolutely adamant to the point where I leapt out of bed, started screaming, and had to run to my mum's room.
That's really interesting. I've actually had a really similar experience.
But you want to know how I know it wasn't real?
Because there was no lizards when you came back into your room?
Because I had a gigantic fever.
Oh, fair.
So I think this woman probably was dreaming or sick.
Fair. I woke up with like a waking hallucination that there were scorpions and tarantulas pouring from my ceiling.
Oh.
And in my panic, because no thank you, I started to climb out of my bedroom window, which is very stupid to do because I'm not on the ground floor. I was like above the conservatory.
Dangerous.
I realised halfway out of the window, I was like, hang on a minute, scorpions and tarantulas are not native insects here. And I turned back and there was nothing there.
Even as a kid, science won out.
I was just like, excuse me,
How
and where have you come from? So I do agree it was probably just a waking hallucination,
Or a
fever,
dream.
potentially a dream. Lots of things happen in that precipice of being on the edge of waking but still being asleep. There's an awful lot that can...
In that liminal space.
Yeah, in that liminal space, there's an awful lot of, like, tricks your mind can play on you.
Yeah.
Thoughts so far?
A little bit bare bones. I'd love more details about any of it, if I'm honest. It is interesting that we've got another story, though, about fairies or goblins on a ley line, because obviously that's supposed to potentially be their, like, pathways. Mm-hmm. And it does make me more curious to find out, like, how ley lines were discovered, what the science is behind it, whether they're actually provable, like, can we measure them or not?
You mean a story whose entire content was just the word goblins wasn't enough detail for you? Some people aren't happy, are they? They just, not happy unless they have the full story.
Okay, I'm gonna need more than cheese to know, like, the details about it. Like, come on.
Yeah, fair enough. We now go to the Knockers in Cornwall. So this was in Bedrovan in the late 20th century. Some believe these creatures to resemble mutant dwarfs, which is an incredible thing to say they resemble, because I have no idea what it is a mutant dwarf looks like. They're about 2 foot high, large eyes, deformed and twisted heads. Some called them the ghosts of those who'd been killed while being forced to work for the Romans. Either way, they could be heard mining and picking away through rocks underground in those areas. Rox, being that you lived in Cornwall for a while, did you ever hear of the Knockers growing up?
I did not. I heard of piskies down the mines, and you throw your Cornish pasty crust, you must throw them to the piskies, but not heard of knockers.
Okay. I'd actually, being from, Plymouth, I'd actually heard stories of them occasionally. Cornwall has a lot of tin deposits. Because of this, mining used to be a massive industry there. Mm-hmm. Mining, as everyone all around the world knows, is an incredibly dangerous industry.
Yeah.
Poisonous gas and mine collapses being one of the main hazards. Knocking sounds were heard in mines around the world, and in Cornwall these were attributed to the knockers, who, depending on which legend you encounter, either made the noise by attacking the support beams to cause a collapse, or were knocking to warn of an impending collapse.
Oh, okay.
Knockers, however, aren't limited to just Cornwall. They exist in Wales under the name Pwca or Goblins, where they are these hobgoblin or brownie-type creatures. They're said to be gnome-like in appearance and dressed as miners. They occupy mines and quarries and knock to warn of impending collapse, or if they found a good seam of coal, or if they're trying to bring down the supports in a dangerous tunnel.
I think it's really interesting that in these accounts they keep getting compared, these mystical creatures keep getting compared to other mystical creatures in their description.
Yeah.
So, gnome-like, dwarf-like. Right, but
What is that?
yeah, that's still... You're comparing one mystical creature to another mystical creature. It is not a great, metaphor.
No, it really isn't. I fully agree. However, the stories themselves, going to compare it to another mystical creature, remind me of a will-o'-the-wisp.
Sure.
Who either led you to safety or into the swamp.
Yeah.
So the will-o'-the-wisps, who were often ghosts in the tales, were actually sometimes characterised as fairies.
Yeah, I've heard.
And there does kind of appear to be a theme of never knowing where exactly it is you stand with the Fae. Are they trying to help you or are they trying to kill you? So the Pwca or knockers are not just limited to the UK though. They are present in the States under the name of Tommy knockers.
Oh, okay.
And it wouldn't be one of my episodes unless I included a little bit of an explanation about what the knocking sounds could be.
Yes, give me the science.
Although the knocking sounds are something that could/did happen, the most prevalent theory for these sounds is that they are produced as a result of the ground shifting or the support beams cracking under the weight of the earth, usually before a collapse.
Sure.
Another theory is that the knockers are the ghosts of deceased miners who died in working accidents. Either way, working in the mines are perilous. Regardless of what you think causes the knocking sounds, it's best to leave a tunnel if you hear one.
Yeah, absolutely, I'd agree with that. Actually, really good point on case in this. Literally, 3 weeks ago, I went to Big Pit in Blanevin.
Oh, yeah.
And they indicated that when they needed to move I forgot what they're called, the trolleys full of coal, they would use a bell system to indicate that the trolleys needed to go forward or come back and things like that. I wonder if pre-electricity they used a similar system but with knocking, and maybe that's where the knocking sounds will come from ghostly, like you said, ghostly miners of the past before the electricity ringing.
Sure, I mean, if you do want to go for the ghost theory, which I was 100% certain you'd be more interested in, I personally think it's more reasonable to think that it is the sound of ground shifting and beams cracking.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you think of how unstable some of the tunnels would have been.
Oh, absolutely. And if you think about the sound of a rock hitting another rock, that would sound like a knocking sound. You ever get a pebble and you try and draw on another piece of rock with it and it makes that knocking sound?
Yeah, no, fair enough. So on to the Welsh Pwca. The clarification is important because the Irish Pwca has a slightly different way of operating, but they are functionally the same thing.
Okay.
The Pwcas are a staple of Welsh folklore, and they are a type of shape-shifting goblin creature.
Shape-shifting?
Yeah. So I found an account on a website called Legends of Wales Battle Cards, which I think is a game. I also think we need to buy it because it looks really cool.
Sure.
So I'll summarise the account. True Farm, not far from Caerphilly. It was host to a incident in which a Pwca offered to help a girl with her chores in exchange for some food and drink. The girl agreed and left out a bowl of fresh milk and bread every single night in exchange for the help.
Good girl.
Yeah. Until one night, the girl was returning from her work and she was hungry. She consumed the offering and instead left stale crusts and a bowl of dirty water for the Pwca.
Oh no, yeah, I'd be pissed too.
The Pwca was enraged and attacked and beat her.
Oh.
The Pwca then became a negative presence in the house by stealing food and tormenting farm animals. When the farmer tried to get the gun from his neighbour, the Pwca said from the darkness, "There is a man coming to hurt me, but you will see who is hurt."
Oh my God.
And proceeded to pelt the farmer with stones.
Ow.
The Pwca was then inactive for a while after this, which led the farmer to believe that everything was over. But one night, when the farmer was returning home from a market, a mist drew in.
Was it a magical mist?
It doesn't say. I'm assuming it's just weather mist. Lost in the darkness and the mist, he saw a light and thought that someone was there with a lantern. He followed it, never getting closer to the light. Suddenly, the light stopped, and just before the farmer ran to the light, the clouds in the sky parted and allowed some moonlight to shine through. The farmer found himself stood on the edge of a chasm.
Ooh.
He saw the creature on the other side of the chasm. It was small, with large eyes and a malicious grin, holding a candle.
Ooh, spooky.
Yeah, a bit grim.
Like that one.
Also very will-o-wispy.
Very will-o-wispy.
Now, I've had a look at the site record for the farm, which, interestingly, the site record also mentions that tale. But only the initial bit with the girl. But then it went a different way, in which he appeared in multiple farmhouses in the region. He appeared to a servant girl to assist her with spinning wool. He wouldn't reveal his name, but eventually the girl found out what his name was. She then told him his name, Growin Afrot, and he left. He then appeared on another farm in the area and befriended a servant. When the servant left to fight in a war, he turned back to Mischief again, before eventually being killed.
I wonder if he was annoyed that he wasn't getting his gifts.
Maybe. But doesn't the spinning and the true name thing sound a bit like Rumpelstiltskin?
It absolutely does.
Yeah, I searched the Pwca's name, and because I'm not going to say it again, because I think I butchered it the first time, and there was a lot of articles called the Welsh Rumpelstiltskin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'm glad it wasn't just me.
Cool.
I'm not going to be all cynical and you haven't considered the alternatives on this one, because by now I'm pretty sure everyone knows my stance on the subject. However, I think these tales have been really fascinating. Goblins can range from being horrible nightmare creatures in the case of Rawhead and Bloody Bones, to potentially helpful creatures, as the knockers may have been, to tricksters whose ire you just don't want to draw.
Yeah.
The conclusion either way is that it is very much likely to be the classic fairy, that they are fickle creatures whose presence has a potential for danger regardless of what the intent of the creature is initially.
I think it's really important that, what we are picking up as a general rule of thumb in this is that names are important. Just don't annoy the fairies is honestly the best thing, because even if you don't believe in them, which I do, it's better to be safe than sorry, because just in case, because they could get real annoyed at you.
Well, I think that's how you should treat all strangers, to be honest. You wouldn't do anything, you shouldn't do anything to disrespect someone, full stop. But especially someone you've never met before and don't know the scope of their capabilities.
That's true, that's very true, yeah.
Anyway, it has been a pleasure as always. I've loved researching this one, but I need to go home now and remove the phrase Welsh knockers from my internet history.
Yeah, you should probably get on that pretty fast.
Yeah.
Mind you, the amount of random stuff that we do look up, I wouldn't be surprised we're being tracked at this point.
Yeah, probably.
Because, I've had to go into, what are the national signs of security in the country and things like that, so...
Yeah.
We're definitely going to get flagged somewhere. Maybe for 2 different things, though.
Yeah. I'm just going to get, a blackmail thing, I'll release what you've been Googling. Please don't. Anyway, you can find us on Threads, Instagram, Reddit, YouTube and Spotify, so feel free to hit us up on that. If you see any videos or posts or anything that you'd like us to talk about and explore, feel free to tag us in it at @Sitnos. That would be #SITNOS. We also have our email address, scaredinthenameofscience@gmail.com.
Love it. Thanks so much. It's been
Thanks
interesting.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.